All right, so Jamaica, beaches, right.
Yeah.
Turquoise water, maybe a little Bob Marley playing in the background. That's what comes to mind, isn't it? But what if I told you there's so much more to Jamaica than just that? That we could, like, dive deeper?
Yeah, I think people often overlook the depth of history, culture, and ecology that Jamaica has to offer beyond those idyllic beaches.
Totally. And that's what we're doing today, ditching those cliches and uncovering a side of Jamaica you won't find in any travel brochures. And we're using Jamaica's Wikipedia page as our guide.
Which is actually a treasure trove of information. You can really peel back the layers and unearth these surprising facts and stories.
Okay, so forget everything you thought you knew about Jamaica, because before it was the Jamaica we know, the indigenous Taino people called it Naimaca, meaning land of wood and water. I mean, how different does that sound from just beaches?
Oh, completely different. It paints this picture of lush mountains, rivers, this whole landscape teeming with life, which kind of gets lost in those typical postcard images. Sadly, it also reminds us that the Taino people, their vibrant culture, was nearly wiped out after Columbus landed there in 1494.
Speaking of Columbus, did you know that the explorer actually shipwrecked and got stuck on Jamaica for like a whole year? Imagine being stranded with that guy.
Oh, I can only imagine the stories.
Right. But on a serious note, the arrival of the Spanish was devastating for the Taino people. It wasn't just disease. Forced labor and enslavement played a huge part, a brutal reality that often gets overshadowed.
It's a tragic pattern that, unfortunately, continued with the arrival of African slaves, and it's impossible to overstate the impact this had and continues to have on Jamaica's social fabric, economy, even its identity. To understand Jamaica today, you have to understand this history.
Absolutely. But it's important to note that it wasn't a complete surrender. We have to talk about the Maroons. These were escaped slaves who created their own independent communities and resisted British rule. They were fierce, and their fight for freedom still resonates in Jamaica's spirit of self-reliance today.
Yeah, and even the transition to British control wasn't simple. You had pirates in the mix, a surprisingly large Jewish population for a while, all these historical threads intertwining to create the Jamaica we know today.
So many layers of history. You got the sugar boom, right, and the reliance on slavery, and then abolition comes in 1838, but then it's like another wave of indentured servants, this time from India and China. It's wild.
Absolutely. It created this incredibly complex cultural tapestry, and it's against this backdrop that Jamaica's national motto, "Out of many, one people," emerges. A powerful statement.
Yeah, it really is. But I feel like there's always more to the story.
Right. I mean, while it celebrates this beautiful blend of cultures, the motto, it was actually coined by a small elite group and doesn't fully reflect the historical tensions, even today.
It's more aspirational than reflective of reality.
In some ways, yeah. It highlights the desire for unity, but acknowledges the ongoing struggle to achieve it. It's this thing that each generation has to grapple with and define for themselves.
Makes sense. So let's talk about those many. We've got Afro-Jamaicans, the majority. But I thought it was really interesting how the Wikipedia page gets specific about their ancestry, mentioning places like Ghana and Nigeria. It's like suddenly it's not just statistics, it's real people.
Absolutely. It brings that human element to the forefront. And even within that Afro-Jamaican majority, there's this fascinating group called the Browning class, a term pretty unique to Jamaica that speaks to the complexities of race and social hierarchy on the island.
Yeah, Browning class, you don't hear that every day. And of course, we can't forget the Chinese and Indian communities, both with roots in that indentured servitude period. How has they shaped modern Jamaica?
Oh, they're woven into the very fabric of Jamaican society. Their influence is everywhere, from the economy to food to social customs. They're a testament to that ongoing fusion of traditions and cultures that makes Jamaica so unique.
And the list just goes on and on.
Yeah.
Lebanese, Syrian, even a surprisingly strong Scottish connection. Apparently tons of Scottish surnames in Jamaica.
It really goes to show you how much depth and history exists in even a relatively small island. It makes you want to go beyond the resorts and beaches and really explore those hidden corners, hear those individual stories.
And speaking of exploring, we can't forget about Jamaica's natural beauty. But I have a feeling you're going to take us beyond those picture-perfect beaches, right?
Always. While tourists are flocking to those idyllic shores, there are these environmental challenges that often get overlooked.
Like pollution, and the impact it has on the very things that draw people to Jamaica in the first place.
Exactly. It's a tough balance because while tourism is a lifeline for Jamaica's economy, it's also contributing to things like pollution, which is especially harmful to marine life and those fragile ecosystems. And here's a thought-provoking detail. The Wikipedia page mentions the study about using tourist fees to actually fund conservation efforts.
So potentially turning tourism into a force for good. That's interesting. Would you, personally, be willing to pay more, knowing that money was going directly towards protecting the environment you're enjoying? It's a question a lot of us travelers need to ask ourselves, honestly.
No doubt. It's about acknowledging our footprint and then stepping up to protect these beautiful places for the long term. And beyond the beaches, Jamaica's biodiversity is incredible. Did you know they have the world's largest centipede there?
Okay, you know I love a good creepy crawly, but that's terrifying and impressive at the same time. I might stick to the hummingbirds. They have some really amazing species there, right? Including their national bird, the streamer tail. I've never actually seen one in person.
They're stunning. And then you have the Jamaican hootia, which most people haven't even heard of. It's like this big old rodent found only in Jamaica, which adds to the sense that the island is this treasure trove of unique wildlife.
It's really remarkable how much Jamaica, this small island nation, has contributed to the world, from biodiversity to culture, and of course we can't forget about the music. But there's more to it than just reggae, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely. Reggae is just one piece of the puzzle. You have ska, rocksteady, dub, dancehall. It's like each genre reflects this evolution, this constant reinvention that's woven into Jamaica's cultural DNA.
It's like the music itself tells a story.
Yeah.
And speaking of stories, I was surprised to learn how much Jamaica has contributed to literature as well.
Right.
It really is incredible the global impact this one island has had.
And it speaks to the resilience and creativity of the Jamaican people. And it reminds me of this word, this concept that really captures the duality of Jamaica, yad.
Yad. Now you've piqued my curiosity.
So it seems like a simple word, right? But in Jamaican patois, yad can mean both yard and home.
Okay, I see where you're going with this. How does that apply to Jamaica as a whole?
Well, on the one hand, yad evokes that sense of warmth, that vibrancy, that feeling of belonging that Jamaica is known for. It's home, it's familiar, comforting, but at the same time, it acknowledges the challenges, the complexities, even the struggles that are also part of Jamaica's story.
This sort of beautiful and challenging duality.
Exactly. And it makes you think, after looking at Jamaica this way, how has your own perception of the island changed? I mean, what does yad mean to you now?
It's a good question. Is it still just this idyllic vacation spot in my mind? Or is it something more now, a place with layers of history, a unique ecosystem facing real challenges, this incredible blend of cultures? All those things are part of the picture now.
It's a more complete picture, right?
Right.
And knowing all of that, how do you think it changes the way we as outsiders connect with Jamaica, with its people, its future?
It definitely makes you think about it differently, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It's amazing how a deep dive into something like even just a Wikipedia page can completely change your understanding of a place.
It reminds us there's always more below the surface, more to discover, more to learn about, even in places we think we know.
So the next time you see those picture-perfect images of Jamaica, just remember that beneath those turquoise waters, there's a deeper story unfolding. A story of resilience, creativity, and a people shaped by a really extraordinary past.
And who knows? Maybe it'll even inspire you to find your own yard somewhere, that place that resonates with you on a deeper level that you feel truly connected to.
That's a great note to end on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Jamaica.